can remember old McDougall. He was the Aboriginal protector. And he said, you have to go, you got to go because there's going to be a big bomb, you know. And so they said, well, where are we going to go? There was nowhere to run, no cars. All they had were camels. So when the bomb did go off and the smoke was everywhere, the station owners had bunkers to go into. And when Mum and the family wanted to go with them, they said, no, you can't come in here. This is only for the white people. The ground that was shaking under me felt like there was lots of hands trying to drag me under the ground. And I was screaming, Mamu, Mamu, which means devil or evil spirit.
Mum said, just a cloud come over. No wind, no clouds in the sky, nothing. It was just a clear day. And it started to get dark and ashes started coming down. She had burnt her in the hand. She had like a cigarette butt burns.
I can remember Mum grabbing us and running, grabbing me. And there was my little brother, my older brother Malcolm. Mum was already pregnant, ready to have my other brother. And the smoke was just all over the place. You could smell it. I can still smell it today.
Malcolm got burned in the head. The hair hasn't grown back. It's just two little round patches she's got.
There was lots of bombs fired around Woomera long before Maralinga. And I had to write a bit about my past, and that's when it all came back. I felt guilty because I just thought this is what my old people had to live through, and there was nothing I could do about it.
We are the bearers of many blessings from our ancestors, and therefore we must also be the bearer of their burdens as well. Therefore, for our nation, the course of action is clear, and that is to deal now with what has become one of the darkest chapters in Australia's history. This is not, as some would argue, a black armband view of history. It's just the truth, the cold, confronting, uncomfortable truth. Facing with it, dealing with it, moving on from it. And until we fully confront that truth, there will always be a shadow hanging over us and our future as a fully united and fully reconciled people. It's time to recognise the injustices of the past. It's time to say sorry.
And from there, the next thing I knew, we were in Woomera. And this is where we saw a lot of other Aboriginal people, women and children, men. Everyone was just sick. A lot of sick people in Woomera. And my brother that was born, he died with heart failure, and he's a lot younger than me. Mum also died with a tumour on the brain. My dad died with heart failure. Very healthy people. But they all died from poisoning, cancers. Unveiled by Don Dunstan, 4th of June 1990. Dedicated to the people of the world who gave their lives for freedom and democracy. We will never forget.
In a forgotten corner of an Adelaide park, a memorial to peace. And it was Don Dunstan who handpicked the young Mike Rann from New Zealand to head the Premier's newly created anti-nuclear office.
So apparently this is where Mike Rann did his speech.
Rann's first job was to push for compensation from the British government for the victims of Maralinga, both the Aborigines and the Australian servicemen.
So this is apparently the peace pole.
Ironically, however, decades later, it was Premier Mike Rann, together with Kevin Rudd, who championed the push to overthrow the Labor Party's 25-year-old policy of no more uranium mines. It is South Australian uranium now earmarked to fuel the nuclear weapons superpowers China and Russia, and most likely India. And it is Australian uranium that in part fueled Japan's Fukushima nuclear catastrophe. And it is now Premier Mike Rann driving the push to turn Olympic Dam into the world's largest open-cut uranium mine.
The mining companies want to mine the country, and the government is using the mining company are using the Aboriginal people, and the native title process is involved in that too. So they're all in it together. All they want is country to mine.
This little area here now, this used to be old waterworks here.
This is Isabel's brother, Andrew Dingerman. When their father, Edgar, died, Andrew, a full-blood initiated Aboriginal man, and his father's only surviving son, automatically inherited the title of senior lawman.
You don't see him walking around much anymore now.
It's Andrew's responsibility, his obligation to protect country, to say what happens on their land, the land that once belonged to the Gugurta people. Country that was never signed over to white governments or mining companies, but taken by force.
No, I'm not really happy with the expansion. If the elders was living today, they'd say the same thing, and it'd be just going on. Just leave it in the ground. Don't dig it up. I think you're mucking around with death at the moment. You know, not only for Aboriginal people, but just for the whole Australian people, you know.
Oh, Andrew, he's just having so much pressure put on him. When he signed the agreement with the Gawler Rangers Native Title Claim Group, he told me later, he said he didn't know that he was signing for everybody else. He thought he was actually signing to help his own family.
I got a phone call saying, oh, you're so-and-so's son, Edgar Dingerman's son. I said, yeah.
Andrew has been tricked in the past to sign papers for mining. Now the pressure is really on Andrew because the government and BHP Billiton want Andrew's signature to legitimise the Olympic Dam expansion.
I'm usually getting phone calls, papers to sign.
Do you sign them?
I signed a few, but
Did you know what you're signing?
not at that time, really.
He tries to do his best, but when they finish with what they want and how they want to get it, then they'll get Andrew to sign for them.
All of a sudden they turn up with papers and then they wanted you.
But he doesn't understand what they're saying and what's going on when they're talking about land that don't belong to them. He's, at the moment he's hurting because he's been used.
I'd like to pull back and just look after my little gang at the moment, and, you know, so no hassles.
They want the wider community to think that they're doing it the right way and that they're doing it with our permission. But in fact, we, the Gugurta people, do not give permission for the expansion at Roxby Downs. We don't want to give the country away because our old people said no.
Our people knew the minerals was there, but we didn't touch it because we knew that it was dangerous. Uranium mining is poison. It's always made people sick in the past. It'll make people sick now, and it's making people sick in the future.
And uranium does not discriminate. The governments may discriminate, but not uranium, and not the smoke and the poison that will come from it. It's going to travel all over the countryside.
So if anybody's 1,000 miles or wherever they think they are and they're out of this area, they'll still get you, don't you worry about it.
It's still a bit too hot, you reckon, Canberra?
No, right. Our law don't change. Government's legislation changes every day to make it right for himself and to push the people that own the country out.
Money. It's all about money. And now they can't massacre us and shoot us anymore, so now they just use other Aboriginal people to do it for them, push us out of the way.
Ready?
Yep. The thing that really hurts me is that my children have to accept that as their lot later on, my grandchildren. But I am not angry with the white people. I'm angry with past governments who owned the policies who could have made life better, but they chose not to. Today, I feel like I'm still living in a cage. We're still locked up. You know, we're locked in by politics.
Them politicians got to think too, you know, they've got kids and they've got grandkids. How are they going to live in this world when they destroy it?
You know, think about our children, our next generation, you know, and their children, and their children.
Now is the time to make a change, you know. I don't want anyone to feel guilty for what's happened to my past and my family's past. I just hope they would learn from what I'm saying and maybe make a change for the future.
So let us seize the day as we begin a new chapter in which we embrace with pride, admiration and awe these great and ancient cultures we are blessed, truly blessed, to have among us. So let us turn this page together, Indigenous and non-Indigenous Australians.
How did you feel that day when Prime Minister Kevin Rudd apologised to the Aboriginal people? Were you like me, proud to be an Australian? To share in a rare moment of genuine national pride that finally we as a people could say sorry to the original Australians for the sins of the past.
Let's grasp this opportunity to craft a new future for this great land, Australia.
Being sorry means being genuine, walking the talk. Those words don't mean a thing if, in our actions, we do not genuinely respect the right of the original custodians of the land to say no. No more uranium mining on our country. We, the Indigenous owners of Roxbury, don't want any more people in Australia or the world to die from what comes from our land.